Hey everyone, welcome to the Royce Reports. I am your host, Royce, and on this channel we talk a lot about Xbox. And if you've been on Twitter, one, I don't recommend it, and I highly advise you get seen by a mental care facility in order to make sure that you have not gone crazy, because Twitter is just a cesspit, and I love it. I love these bad takes on Twitter. I love people going to war with each other over the dumbest things, and I am just a watcher. I peek. I'm just watching, a lurker, as you will. I love it. And I noticed that even though I'm not subscribed or follow a lot of people on Twitter when it comes down to PlayStation stuff, I do find a lot of PlayStation takes about Xbox. And I know that there's a lot of doom and gloom when it comes to the Xbox brand. You have people saying that Xbox is a monopoly. You have people saying that Xbox has no games and that Game Pass is the downfall to our industry, but also Game Pass is not worth it. So what is it? What is going on here? And today I feel like we should address all of the issues that we are currently facing. So let's talk about it. So if you haven't been living underneath a rock, you probably know about the whole Activision Blizzard stuff. And to this day, there's still so much stuff going on. It's an ever evolving thing that constantly just gets bombarded in the news cycle. And I just don't like talking about it. You know what I look like whenever I hear about Activision Blizzard news regarding this acquisition? This is me. This is current real life experience right here. Oh, are they done talking about it? No, they're not, because it's not done yet. So, but a lot of people talk about this all the time, like talking about how this is a monopoly for Xbox. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I am team acquisition. I'm all about that stuff. I don't really care about, acquisitions are bad for the gaming industry, yada, 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 yada. I don't really think that is ever the case, because it can no way be as bad as it is in film, and there's no way as bad as it is on TV with only like 4 people controlling everything. There are so many different publishers and companies and indies, and there's so much going on in the gaming industry that it's literally almost impossible for Xbox, by acquiring Activision Blizzard, to become a monopoly. It's just not feasible. It's not a thing. But that's regardless, people are running with this, saying that it is a monopoly, that this is something that can control the industry and shake it up. And if Xbox buys Activision Blizzard and decides to put Call of Duty in exclusive terms with just Xbox, then bye-bye Sony, which is not even true. They even have reports of the CMA doing a questionnaire asking, if Call of Duty became exclusive, would you be going over to Xbox? And 20% of the people said, yeah, we would go. While the other percent said that either they would find another game to play, or they don't ever really care about Call of Duty in the first place. So 20% of your player base moving over is not ending your company by any means whatsoever, especially since Sony has that strong lead over Xbox anyways. Now, another narrative people are continuing to talk about is how Xbox has no games. Now, when you look at 2022, I might have agreed with you, but even in 2022, which is their probably least active year to date, and actually, in my opinion, one of the worst years to be an Xbox fan, they actually had, As Dusk Falls, they had Pentiment, and they had Grounded. And now Grounded is actually one of my favorite games of last year. Me and my friends sunk hours and hours into it, and it's a great experience. And you should check it out if you haven't. It's on Game Pass. Well, that's the thing. Xbox just has no games. So how can it be a monopoly if it has no games? In order to be a monopoly, you have to be able to control the whole entire industry. And you can't do that if you have nothing to control the industry with. So this is, again, just a false narrative that people are deciding to paint. And most recently, Game Pass. Game Pass is this thing that is an awesome thing, the best deal in gaming. And you know what you hear about all the time? The naysayers of Game Pass is, well, how is this sustainable? I don't care if it's sustainable or not. I don't care. I don't care whatsoever. If I'm paying money for this service and I'm getting access to all those games without having to pay full price for these games, I'm going to do it. I don't care if they have to sell their grandma in order to continue to keep this service around. I'm going to be invested in the service until then. And if it gets too pricey, I'm going to stop paying for it. Like, if you want to own your games, you can buy them. Like, there's like, I can't understand the whole argument against Game Pass about how Game Pass is hurting the industry when it's not. That's like saying Netflix is hurting the industry. When you look at it, you know what are still around to this day? Theaters. Movie theaters are still around. You know what else is around now? Well, you have things like HBO Max. You have things like Disney Plus. You have things like Paramount Plus. You have different streaming services that allow you to watch all of your shows in one place if you choose to do so. You know what there was before Netflix? Cable. You know how much cable sucked and still sucks? If you wanted to watch a show and you missed it, well, did you have a TiVo? No? Okay, well then sorry, you missed it. Well, with Netflix, you can just watch it whenever. And you can say that Netflix ended up harming really physical media. And that's the downfall of this stuff, right? That's a downfall to Game Pass. It's downfall to all these other subscription services is physical media. I am a fan of physical media, and this does hurt me. I remember being able to walk into Best Buy and just having the whole store be pretty much movies. And I was just at a wonderland here for me, right? Because I love collecting physical media. I love collecting movies. And so I was like a kid in a candy store, able to just get my hands on anything and everything and just peruse around. And now you go into Best Buy and the Best Buy shelf is like this big. And it's like, hey, is this all you guys got? And they're like, what are you doing buying Blu-rays, grandpa? No one does that anymore. And then I feel inadequate and old and disgusting. And I have to walk out of Best Buy looking like an idiot. And that's all because of Netflix. And so gaming is ending up going the same way. And everyone's talking about how gaming is like Game Pass is ruining this, right? And it's not just Game Pass that's ruining this. It's the fact that the developers aren't supporting this anymore. You know what's crazy? When you could go and look at eBay and buy an older game and it has a thing. There's a little tiny acronym right there next to these older games, which is CIB. What does that mean? Complete in box. Why is that even a statement that you need to see when you buy retro games? The reason why that is a statement is because those retro games come with manuals. You know what these current games nowadays come with? Just the disc. That is all you get in these games, is just the disc. And you know whose fault that is? That isn't Game Pass's fault. You know why they went away with manuals? Is because it costs too much to do. It was like, why are we going to spend so much money on all the paper, all the printing, all of the ink, and do all this if no one gives a damn about it? And the only way that they actually were able to pay for all that stuff is by having ads placed within the manuals themselves for other games. And that's how they kind of were able to alleviate the cost of producing these games. And also because that was the only way to actually get people to buy games, was a physical avenue. And now that we are in 2023 and that we have access to hundreds of movies, thousands, millions of movies and games all at the tip of your fingertips, now people are considering about, like, what about the future? What happens if this stuff goes away and we don't have anything to back that up? Which is the dilemma, right? But that's not something that you actually have to care about. And also the disc, another thing is that the discs that you buy today are not even really the full game. You still have to get the disc, put it in your Xbox or PlayStation, and then you have to download the game because the full game is not on there. And even if the full game is on there, well, you have updates, so you have to go and update it. So it's not just Game Pass, right? It's not just Netflix. It is the combination of the whole industry moving away from physical media because they want to cut costs where they can. And whenever you see physical media, you realize that 80% of media that is consumed today when it comes down to games is solely digital. Only 20% of that cost is actually, or 20% of those sales are going to physical users. which, you know, is a sad sight to see. And I am definitely an advocate for having physical media and all that, but it's not because of Game Pass. And it's just the trend in which everyone in the industry is setting. It's a trend that people are going towards. Because guess what? There's a PlayStation 5 that doesn't have a disc drive that's $100 cheaper. You know why they want you to get that? And you know why it costs less? Not just because of the fact that they don't have to include a disc, but because they know all the games that you're going to buy are going to be digital. So Sony is going to either see 100% of that cost or 30% of the cost, depending on if it's a exclusive or if it's a deal. Like if someone bought Call of Duty on the Sony platform, 30% of that sale is going to Sony. So they want to make their money. They want to cut out the middleman. They don't want to be paying for people to place their games in the stores and all that stuff. So this is the future going forward. Another thing they talk about is how Game Pass is cannibalizing games. So they are comparing this to a 2018 interview where Phil pretty much said, hey, you know what? Some games that enter into Game Pass do better because of Game Pass, because they're able to go and see this game and then people go and buy it because it might be leaving the service. So that was 5 or 6 years ago. And so they're comparing that to what Game Pass is today. Game Pass today is different than what Game Pass was in 2018. The fact is that you have a lot more people subscribed to the service. You have a lot more games in the service. You have games that meet every single sort of niche out there, and that is a good thing. But what is the drawback is now that people are paying for this, you can see a trend where games that actually are one and done, story-driven games, ones that you can just hop in and beat and then never have to return it to ever again because it's done, those games that enter Game Pass are obviously not going to sell as well as games like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, Destiny, because those games are live service games. They have live service elements to them. So when they're in Game Pass and then they get removed from Game Pass, people want to continue to play those games, and so they buy those games. Those games will end up being sold more often once they leave the service than games that are one and done. That is just that's just an understanding thing. You should be able to understand that as a person with a brain, unless it's this big, unless your brain is the size of a walnut, like some T-Rexes or something. Let me go call Chris Pratt to rail you in, you raptor. So they don't understand that there is a reason people put their games in the Game Pass. You have developers coming out and saying that I want to put my game into Game Pass and I'm going to try to continue to place my game into Game Pass because it has shown success for us. Then you have other people who are going to be like, hey, this game didn't do as well in Game Pass as I thought it was. Then, okay, never mind. We're not going to do it again. Because if that was the case, if no one liked Game Pass, no one is putting a gun to their head saying, put your game in Game Pass right now, and here's a check. No, they're doing it because they see a benefit to it. Because if that was the case, if Game Pass was hurting the industry, why is MLB The Show in Game Pass not once, not twice, but 3 times? You're out of here, huh? Tell me why that is. It's because MLB sees the potential of it being in this service. Game Pass is not just this service that doesn't cause any people to buy games. Like it's just unbelievable that people think this. A game enters Game Pass, right? And there is different avenues you can go to get this game. If you don't have Game Pass, you can buy the game. There's digital sales all over the world. Like if you want to get Hi-Fi Rush, you could buy it on the Xbox store. If you want to get Hi-Fi Rush, you can buy it on Steam. Or you could go into Game Pass. There is different avenues for you to be able to buy this game and play the game without having to pay full price. There is different ways of getting money from these developers. These developers not only put their games into Game Pass, but they have cosmetics, they have upgrades, they have coins for you to buy. And because people aren't paying full price for the game, they're getting it through Game Pass, they're more willing to kind of shell out a few bucks here and there on those games that they normally wouldn't have ever even tried. So this is a good thing for the developers. Now that they have access to 25 million people right off the get, well, there's gonna be more people playing the game than they have ever before. And so this increases player numbers, and player numbers means you're getting more people to look at your product, which means you're getting more people that are interested in not just the product that is in front of them, but the product that has been made by that same developer. So they're going out and buying other games. They're like, okay, well, what is this developer doing? Let me go and buy that. Let me go check this out. Let me go check that out. That's what they're doing. It is an avenue to get people to look at other things. And not only that, but you have more users, which means you have more people playing the game, which means you have more hours spent in the game, which means that you have potential for more people to buy the little knickknacks in the game, to go and buy those coins, to buy the upgrades, to buy the digital deluxe version upgrade path, because I'm going to get all those cool, sweet gear while I play this game in Game Pass. So there's that revenue as well. And if a game is multi-platform, like something like Atomic Heart or something like Wo Long, those games are also being sold on PlayStation. They're also being sold on Steam and other places. And so what happens is they get word of mouth from Xbox saying, hey, this game is actually pretty good. And if you don't have an Xbox and you're interested in the game, well, you heard a lot of people like it, so might as well go and buy it on that platform. And so that's another way people make money. So I don't have to sit here and explain to you why Game Pass isn't stifling sales for games, right? It is and it isn't. It's a pick and choose adventure here, because of course, if it's a one and done game with no extra benefit to it whatsoever, nothing to add on to it, and you complete it within 3 to 4 hours, whatever it is, and you're done with it, there's no need for you to go and buy it now, is there? And why would you, right? Unless you want to support the developer for whatever reason. Now, what about the sales of the console? The sales of the console are what determine how successful something is, right? Makes sense, right? Well, no, it actually doesn't. In fact, Sony themselves have said that it doesn't matter how many consoles are sold. We only care about how many monthly active users there are. Because if people are buying our console, which is sold at a loss, what's the point? We don't want that, because we're losing money. We want to be gaining money. We want that person that bought the PlayStation to continue to play on PlayStation, not just for the first party, but for third party, because that's where they make the majority of their money, is actually third party sales. So they want you to make your home console be PlayStation. Okay, so if that's the case, well, you look at the monthly active users, right? And you see that PlayStation has sold 30 million units, and that's nothing to scoff at. That is a great thing. That's great for them, and it's great for the industry. It shows that we are still in a healthy place when it comes down to gaming. And you see that I think the last reported numbers for Xbox was around 18 to 22 million, around that range. So they're kind of, not too far off, but are definitely further enough to be kind of an issue. But the thing is, Xbox has reported 120 million monthly active users, the most that they have ever had, and has actually surpassed PlayStation in that matter, which is a good thing. I mean, for Xbox guys, I guess. But this just goes to show that there's still growth in the Xbox ecosystem, that people are still going to Xbox, regardless of them having no games, regardless of the fact that Game Pass is stifling sales and not successful whatsoever, and that their growth is slowing down. These are things that you, as a consumer, do not have to worry yourself about. All you have to worry about is, am I going to enjoy the game that's in that service on that platform? That's all you need to worry about. Because people are saying that if this Activision Blizzard deal falls through for whatever reason, if it does, then oh well. But if it does, then Xbox is done. That is it. There is not going to be an Xbox anymore. They're instead going to kind of divulge that and go elsewhere, which is not true. That is not something that's going to happen. And let me tell you why. Let me break it down for you why Xbox is not going anywhere. You have this company that not just only spent all those millions of dollars to acquire those teams years ago, like Playground Games, like Double Fine, like State of Decay developers, all Undead Labs, all those teams that they bought. They also spent $7.5 billion with a B, billion. Bravo. Good job, boy. Right? $7.5 billion on Bethesda. You don't do that unless you believe in that company, unless you believe in the brand, the Xbox brand. Not only are they willing to spend $7.5 billion, but they're also trying to acquire Activision Blizzard for $67.9 billion, whatever it is, which is the biggest deal in gaming history. You don't do that if you think that your brand is dying. You don't invest that much money in a dying brand. You just don't. And if this money, and if this deal falls through, it's not like they're going to be like, okay, well, we're done. You can look at the revenue that Xbox produces every year, and it makes more money in revenue than Nintendo does. Nintendo is the best-selling console that there is in this generation with the Switch. And their games sell 10 million units, 20 million units for their exclusives. That is huge. That is freaking nuts. There's no way that PlayStation is doing those numbers, and there's no way Xbox is doing those numbers at all. No way. But yet, Xbox is still making more revenue than Nintendo. So why would they leave? Doesn't make any sense. And I feel like a lot of people kind of run around with this Xbox doom and gloom. Xbox can never do anything right. And you see the trajectory in which Xbox is going, and it's just going up from here. It is a ever evolving industry, and Xbox is doing the right things. It's taking the right strides to continue to try to fix the mistakes of the Xbox One generation. Yeah, you still have a lot of issues. You do have the DRM issue. You still have the fact that the games aren't really on a disc anymore. And that's not just Xbox, it's other developers as well. But Xbox is definitely really bad at doing it. But you see the legs that they're trying to get here. They are investing in themselves, in the brand. And I know that buying other companies and not really taking that money and putting it into your studios is not considered investing by Sony means, but they are doing what they can in order to continue to make sure that Xbox is around and that they continue to tell those great stories, and by doing it in a way to where you can play however you want to play, wherever you want to play. So Xbox is not going anywhere. Xbox Game Pass is not destroying the gaming industry because everyone else is actually trying to follow suit. You see it with PlayStation Plus. You see it with Google Stadia. You saw it with Google Stadia. You see it with Amazon. They're all making their own subscription service. EA Play has one. Ubisoft has one now. So this is a trend that is going to continue to follow. And there is just no way this company is just going to just unalive itself and just stick to developing games. It's not going to happen. But what do you guys think? This video actually ran a little bit long, and it's more of a discussion piece. It's not really, I don't really have all the facts here. It's kind of hard to look for a lot of these things because of how old things are. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Xbox is a monopoly? If you're a PlayStation fan, let me know. I am open to criticism. I'm open to knowing other people's thoughts and ideas when it comes down to this. So please let me know in the comment section below if you think that by having Activision Blizzard underneath Microsoft, it is a monopoly. And do you think that Xbox has no games? And do you think that Game Pass is not just cannibalizing game sales, but also bad for the industry? Do you think that it's doom and gloom for Xbox? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button if you did. And if you want to see more videos like this, then be sure to continue watching. Thank you. And I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. Remember that. I said that backwards, but you know what I mean. See ya.